Hello, everyone. Everyone can hear me? Good afternoon. It is such a pleasure to have everyone here. Thank you. I think today's a really exciting day. I know today's the day dedicated to science, technology, innovation, and digitalization. So I think especially it's very relevant in this past year, right? We're talking about artificial intelligence, which has grown in relevance so much. And I just want to throw out a stat out there. It seems that about 75% of companies today prefer investing in artificial intelligence than any other digital tool. So this is really important to address today. And in fact, we think it also presents a tremendous opportunity to really take action to advance in climate action. And we know we need to use any possible tool and resource that can effectively and quickly really help us to get back on track to that 1.5 objective that we have, which, as we know, reports have been saying in the past year and this past week also at COP, that with current policies and current action, we're on a 2.7 trajectory. So we need any possible tool like artificial to do this. And some have said that artificial intelligence could actually help us to mitigate our emissions about 10% by 2030, which is a lot. So that's exactly what we're going to talk about, how it can help us. But not only that, not only the positive impact, we also need to take into account the potential risks that artificial intelligence development and use can pose, right? Something that's been talked a lot about is the loss of jobs. The World Economic Forum says we could lose about 70 million or so jobs. So that's a big, big concern when we're talking about just transition or a green transition. Also, as much as artificial intelligence could help us reduce our emissions, if we don't do it in a responsible way, it could actually do just the opposite. And some companies have come out to light saying, you know, we're having a challenge right now in the fact that it is making us have more emissions. So we need to reverse that. And then the other thing too is polarization, right? More and more we're seeing a world that is more polarized, and artificial intelligence has this ability to make things a lot quicker. And so we need to make sure that doesn't contribute to a more unstable society or economy, which otherwise it makes it very hard for all of us in all sectors and all of society to get together, aligned towards that 1.5 objective to really decarbonize as soon as possible. And so I think today we have a really interesting session with 5 panelists. So thank you so much for being here today. I know you have a lot of other commitments as well. So thank you for taking the time. We're going to hear from these 5 panelists because they are already taking action to ensure we are using AI responsibly and to really help us with our objectives. So I'm going to present us. First of all, I would like to introduce myself. I'm Camila Cauer. I am a project manager at Forética. We are based in Madrid, and I'm helping lead one of our initiatives where more than 60 companies and organizations participate in this cluster. It's a working group. We get together from all sectors saying, you know, the challenges that we're facing or also lessons learned. So it's a kind of a between companies we share so that we can ensure we get towards that goal of net zero. So as I said, I'm part of Forética. Right next to me we have Germán Granda, who is the general director and the founder of Forética. So Forética was founded 25 years ago already, and what it does, it really strives to help companies and organizations to integrate social, environmental, and governance aspects into their business strategies to ensure they're having a positive impact on sustainability issues. Next, we also have Miguel Ángel Muñoz Rodríguez, who is the head of climate policies and alliances at Iberdrola. Iberdrola is a Spanish company. It's one of the leading energy producers in Spain as well as in the world, so welcome as well. We also have Anna Greta Tsakna. She is the CEO of Timberter, which is a Estonian-based company that is really aiming to transform the forestry sector to ensure it has a positive environmental impact. We also have Shrey Goyal with us. He is the co-founder of Green Spider, based in Paris, and it's a social enterprise, really trying to ensure it is harnessing the power of AI to really advance in climate action. And last but not least, we also have Dr. Jalib Jamousi. Thank you so much for being with us. He is the Deputy Director of the Telecommunications Standardization Board of the Telecommunications Union. So thank you so much for being with us today. And I think I'm going to start already. So what I first want to ask the 5 speakers is, based on the work that you've been doing in this past year, because AI is evolving so quickly, right? 2023 was the year of discovery, and this is the year already of adoption. So could you tell us, based on the experience on the work that you've been doing, why do you think really AI can help us towards climate action? So I'm going to start with the one I'm most familiar with, which is Germán Granda. I know Forética has been doing several things. Could you please tell us why you think AI can help us?
Thank you very much, Camila, and also thank you to the Climate Change Office and all the people working this week in the Spanish Pavilion. You're doing a fantastic job in the first week, so congratulations. And also, let me start by saying that our thoughts are still these days with all the people suffering in Valencia, Castilla-La Mancha, Andalucía because of the floods, their families, and we are working with companies and recognizing also the volunteers and all the people that they are working with the reconstruction of all that zone, right? So yes, our thoughts with them. So, well, we found in Forética, which is the Spanish Business Council for Sustainable Development, so we gather more than 200 companies, and we have this council with 50 presidents and CEOs from companies. And last year they pushed this agenda, so that's where we really found that it was crucial to start. Some companies did it before, to start the conversation at the board about how AI can help our net zero journey, right? So not only from the risk side, and we've been working a lot with an initiative that, of course, it's parallel to the AI legislation, the AI Act, but also looks at AI as a source of opportunities, right? So we started this project with companies called AI on ESG, right? So looking with the lens of sustainability to all the aspects of artificial intelligence. Just two main messages, right? I think they all recognize the huge opportunity, but they all recognize also that we need a lot to do. We need to understand better how we can introduce all these aspects not only in our strategy, but also in our code of conduct, also in our operations. But what's important is that we started the conversation in Spain with all these companies, right? So there are lots of examples. I'm sure we are going to learn today about some of them. But I suggest if you can check our website and see which type of companies, from Microsoft to Iberdrola, or all sectors are working on this topic, and they are producing, I think, very interesting business cases of how to advance.
Thank you so much, Germán. I think it's really interesting what you said, having this space to really think about it and reflect, right? Which is key, because artificial intelligence is developing extremely fast, right? But we need to make sure we take the time to discuss just as much as risk, but also what you said, what are the opportunities? And I think that's a really good case for companies to say, make sure you're aware of all the potential risks, but also what are opportunities that could come out of this as well. So it's great that there's this platform to have those discussions and kind of see the perspective of these companies in Spain. Thank you so much. And as Germán, you mentioned, Iberdrola is also one of the companies that have also been active in this conversation of AI. And so we're lucky to have Miguel Ángel with us. And Miguel, I want to ask you the same thing as well, as being a leader in energy, to really advance and distribute this renewable energy. I know you also have a very ambitious climate agenda as well for you to decarbonize as soon as possible. I'd like to hear a bit of how is artificial intelligence playing a role here?
Thank you very much for inviting me to this interesting event. I would say this is a trending topic within the climate agenda and the energy transition agenda. As a utility company focused on climate action through a very ambitious plan on renewables, climate solutions through different sectors, we think this is a key action stream. I would like to highlight my ideas, structuring them in two areas. Green by AI and the need to greening AI. The first action stream, I think AI can play a key role for a more sustainable, secure, flexible, dynamic energy model. This will provide a lot of tools for predicting demand, for managing multi-directional fluxes of electricity, connecting smart devices across all areas. Data also for a more resilient system, data or interactions to predict, to plan, to create anticipatory planning schemes. In some way, it could also improve the policy making, as policy and all the policymakers need information to make the right choices. So this would be more or less some of the potential opportunities that are opening ahead of us. But of course, there are challenges, and one of the key challenges under our point of view is this AI will need a huge amount of energy. We see more or less that current data center and related activities are covering almost 2% of global electricity demand. This will double by 2026. We have to ensure that this consumption is tackled efficiently, is supplied by renewable energies. And as a company, we have a huge responsibility in delivering this demand. We are opening projects with several data centers, agreements to provide this energy. But I think this is an action stream that we as a company should focus. Some estimation says that in 2026, the consumption of these kind of areas would be equivalent to the consumption of Japan in terms of electricity. So a huge challenge ahead. We can talk later on different other challenges, but I will leave it here.
Thank you so much, Miguel Angel. No, there's definitely a lot to be discussing, but I think I like a bit that concept of green by AI. It can help us, but also like make sure that we're greening AI just because of what you shared of how much it could consume. But I think you also mentioned the part of resiliency, right? Mitigation is important. I know that's what we really want to focus, decarbonize as soon as possible, right? We're all at different levels of advancement, but being resilient is so key for companies and organizations as well, because we know that already there are climate change effects that are occurring. So how can we take measures to be more resilient now and also help us towards our mitigation efforts? So thank you so much, Miguel, for sharing. And now, Ana Greta, I would also love to hear as well about your company and your perspective on this, as we know that the forestry industry sector has a key role as well on emissions. We know that nature is a massive carbon sink. We don't really need to do anything, just not touch it too much, and it could really be a key solution in that. So because we do need it, right, it's a good thing also to use these beautiful natural resources. What are you doing to help them? And what's your perspective really to ensure that AI can help us?
Yeah, first of all, congratulations to everyone on the first ever digital day at COP. And I think it's important to all of us to understand that you cannot really go green without being digital. That's very important. So yes, Timeter is using AI to increase the transparency, efficiency and traceability in the forestry sector. We started off as really focusing our goals to become this kind of efficiency tool that replaces the manual operations with the digital one. But we very quickly understood that there are so many sustainability benefits which are coming along when using the technology. So all kinds of reduction of waste, reduction of the corruption, reduction of the chemical spray paint. So this all comes along with this very simple technology. And I think what is very important also to understand that everything starts from the mindset, and especially in forestry we see as an industry with the long-term traditions, they really sometimes want to have this 100% ready solutions. But you know, the solutions are not happening overnight, so you just need to start somewhere. What you also need to keep in mind that these solutions need to be affordable for everyone in the sector to really make this turn happening. So you need to include everyone, you cannot leave anyone behind, and you need to create this kind of solutions that are easily usable by anyone in the sector. And you were completely right that the forestry holds enormous potential in solving the problems, but at the same time there's so much to do. There's so much problem with the vague data. And of course, the operational efficiency can be really improved.
Absolutely. Thank you so much, Ana Greta. Yeah, you're saying we need more data, right? Which I think Miguel said that too. To make informed decisions, to make sure we're doing the right decisions, we need good, credible data. And also part of sustainability and advancing to the 1.5 is not just to go net zero, but make sure that we all get there and we all feel like we're being supported, we have jobs, right? And there's no corruption as well. So it really is a wholesome perspective when we're trying to arrive to that 1.5 objective by 2050. So thank you so much. And now, Shrey, I would also love to hear about your perspective, also coming from a more social enterprise as well.
Yes, thank you for having me here. I'll pick up from something that my previous co-panelists said, Miguel and Ana Greta. So Miguel mentioned green by AI, AI for green, and Ana Greta mentioned inclusion. So I would like to expand AI for green to AI for development, AI for global development, AI for sustainable development, which includes inclusion. So when we talk about net zero, it's not just a technical issue, it's not just a scientific issue, it's also a human rights issue. And essentially, billions of people in this world are lagging behind, they have very low carbon footprint, and they need energy, they have all kinds of developmental needs. So any net zero plan cannot be made without including them, without including their needs. And that lack of inclusion is something that AI can solve. So if I talk about AI in terms of digital inclusion or linguistic inclusion, now I come from India and all of my work in the social sector and development sector has been around India and Haiti to some extent. India is a country with 121 languages and 19,500 dialects. Now, most of the tech sector, most of the tech world is based around English and maybe a handful of European languages, maybe Chinese in India, maybe Hindi and Urdu, but that still leaves about 750 million people excluded from that process. What that means is that all kinds of tech tools which are made, which are serving or which are supposed to serve the broader green development, the broader climate action ecosystem, all of these people are excluded from that. So we can really use AI to cover those divides. As an example, so AI is ubiquitous, and AI is now what IT used to be earlier. So we no longer talk about computerized businesses. We no longer say that, oh, this person works in computers if they work in banking, but everyone uses computers. Now, AI is something that is already all around us, and if it's not present in a certain industry, it will be. But what often happens with these advanced technologies, with the frontiers of scientific and technological development, is that the commercial sector adopts them first, and the development sector lags behind. So with computerization, the first users were huge enterprises, were huge banks, and so on. The development sector came on much later on. So rural banking in India was computerized in the last 10 years or so, at least 20 years after the rest of the world caught up. In case of AI, the first users of AI, the first people really implementing AI in their businesses are large multinational corporations who are using them for targeted marketing, for online advertising, and for some possibly ethically dubious purposes, let's just say. So from our perspective, for AI to achieve its full potential in terms of helping humanity, it needs to include everyone, and that's a part of the net zero goals as well. So that's broadly my perspective on that.
Thank you so much, Shrey. Absolutely. I think you're right on track with what a big part of this COP29 has been, which is about the money, the finance, right? And when we're talking about finance, I think Antonio Guterres had said that as well, is that when we're talking about financing, it's about investment. And I think you guys are really focusing on investing in resources, in capacity, and in knowledge as well. And I think AI has a really huge potential in that area. So thank you. And Dr. Jamouzi, we also want to hear your perspective as well. I know part of your mission is to ensure there is international standardization in digitalization to ensure that everyone can have access to a wonderful type of technology that can really help us. So based on that unique perspective, could you share why you think it's key?
Absolutely, and thank you very much for having us in the Spanish Pavilion. Buenas tardes. The World Telecommunications Standardization Assembly concluded just a month ago in New Delhi, bringing all 194 member states of the ITU, about 1,000 private sector entities, and 200 universities and research institutes. And during the assembly, we had a new resolution on AI. And part of that resolution is the belief of our membership that AI plays a critical role for accelerating the achievement of the Sustainable Development Goals, including the climate action. This morning, we hosted the first ever Digitalization Day, and we had the high-level segment on the Green Digital Action and the Declaration, where we heard from ministers, from CEOs, from private sector on the role that green digital and of course including AI plays in the climate, and the declaration was endorsed by 1,000 entities including 100 member states. So these are certainly showing what we have been working on in ITU on AI when it comes to climate. AI plays a key role in monitoring emission, optimizing resource use, predicting environmental shifts in terms of the climate. So these are some examples of where AI plays a key role. We have a study group 5 in ITUT, which includes all of our membership, dedicated to developing standards that use AI among other techniques or measure the impact of AI in its use of energy, but also the impact of AI on other sectors and how it could reduce the environmental footprint of other sectors. In 2019, we had a focus group on AI and energy efficiency, looking at these two aspects of AI and the environment. And just 2 months ago, we published a recent report on the AI and the environment that you can find and download publicly on our website, looking at both aspects of AI, as a consumer of electricity, but also as a helper to the various other sectors. And maybe I'll conclude on this point in terms of the mitigation and the adaptation to more on the adaptation to climate change. We had a focus group with the World Meteorological Organization, UPU, UNFCCC, UNEP, and now it's a global initiative on natural hazards using AI techniques, where AI plays a key role in taking those satellite images, taking all the data coming from the IoT and sensors to be able to detect and mitigate natural hazards and be able to use early warning for more than 27 different use cases, from volcanoes to landslides to floods, as we have seen recently in Valencia. And I was in Barcelona just 2 weeks ago, and we had a number of alerts coming to our mobile phones. And funny enough, we were in Medusa, which is a project, European project, where I sit on the board, external advisory board, and we were talking about climate and its impact, and we were like living it in real life. So just to conclude that AI plays a critical role, it's important to be able to, for all players, to provide the data so that those algorithms and machine learning techniques can be running on real data. It has to be anonymous and protecting privacy, but the key here is that all players need to be able to collect and share the data so that we can develop real models and be able to have concrete action for the climate.
Great, thank you so much, Dr. Jamousi. I think it's very interesting. We're talking, right, how technology can be used as a tool, which is very key to advance, but always remembering too that we're putting people at the center of the work that we're doing, right? Making sure that whatever we develop or use is really to help us advance towards that goal, right? So, and you also mentioned a lot about collaboration, right? How different institutions or the UNFCCC or UNEP are really working to ensure that the surface is being done, like the trying to create scenarios, right, to understand these climate impacts are really based on science and using technology to make it even more effective to kind of detect the potential consequences. So thank you for sharing. So I'm already hearing really great examples. You're kind of stealing my question. That was the next one, which was, give me now an example. We want to hear kind of this perspective, your vision, and now let's hear what's being put on the ground right now. So if you don't mind giving me, I would say a 1.5-minute response would be great. Each one, if you can share a bit, what are you doing right now exactly as an example of what's going on?
Well, our example is that, well, as in sustainability, it all starts with leadership and good governance, right? So in the Spanish Business Council for Sustainable Development, once the CEOs of the company said, all right, this is in the agenda, we want to learn more about how to engage the board in this process of AI linked to sustainability, go and share guidance of how to do it, right? So we develop a very strong group with tech companies, with companies from all sectors to develop 5 principles and with 17 specifications that could help companies, at least in Spain, going through the way not only sharing this purpose of net zero linked to AI, but also with nature positive aspects, with inclusion aspects, with human rights issues. All the ESG aspects must be linked to AI in both aspects you mentioned, the risk and also all the opportunities, because it also happen in circularity or other issues. Once you start talking inside the company about one thing, there are things that trigger, right? For example, the conversations between the CTOs and the CSOs that didn't happen before, right? Now they are there, they are starting, right? And that's very powerful, right?
No, that's great. Thank you. Yeah, so I guess there's these 5 principles that I think are accessible for really anyone to read, right? It's on our platform, and these were co-designed with different companies and leaders with perspective, right, from also the computer departments or the tech departments to really give also that tech base on these pillars, right? So it covers the E part, the environmental, the social part, and the governance. I think, Shrey, you were mentioning the part of making sure inclusivity, and that's something I think the manifesto mentions, right, about making sure that if this technology is supposed to be inclusive, let it be so during the design process as well. So as we're developing this technology, we need to take into account these 5 principles. So thank you for sharing. Miguel Angel, if you want to share a bit more too, what are you guys working on right now?
Yeah, 3 brief examples. I want
Okay.
to stick to them. 2 internal and 1 external. 2 internal. We have a AI policy, internal policy of usage. This policy sets very robust and very widespread guidelines on the usage of this tool, ethical principles, transparency. Someone has to know when they are interacting with AI. We are also working in an AI framework for the global group, all jurisdictions. This framework, we have governance, risk assessments, inventory of actions. So we want to set the tools to work very robustly under very important ethical principles with this tool. These are internal actions that we are tackling. Externally, we are always convinced in the power of alliances and collaboration in all aspects that we work as Iberdrola. Within AI, it is very important 2 groups. The first one is a group we are working with International Energy Agency. We are assessing within this group how AI can constitute a very important tool for a more sustainable and net zero aligned energy model, exploring with all actors across key actors from different sectors. And we are also engaging with European industry, ERT, in different groups to explore how we can harness the potential of this tool, aligning this with green transition for a more competitive and leadership industry in Europe. So these examples.
Thank you so much. Yeah, I mean, it's been evolving so quickly, so it's amazing to see how already different organizations are coming together already to ensure there's a standardization. You can have kind of a process, right, to ensure that the whole company is integrated and understands kind of the implications of its use. Ana Greta, I would also love to hear a bit more about the solutions that you're providing the forestry sector.
Yes, I can be very proud of our work because very concrete examples. So for one company in Latin America, with our solution, we were able to save the use of 45 tons of spray paint in a year. So for the first year, it was 22.5, and then we increased it to 45. And I can say already that I have this positive footprint. But yes, so what we see is that a lot of optimization, a lot of efficiency can be improved in the forestry sector, but as well to increase the transparency, because unfortunately still in the sector, illegal logging activities is a 150 billion size of an industry, and that really causes a lot of losses for the society as well for the industry overall. So to really use the technologies that help enforcement agencies also to have their work conducted very efficiently are absolutely necessary. And it was mentioned already, the collaboration. So I would really encourage all the governments to seek for the partners from the private sector, not to start building or developing something from scratch, but rather to use the existing solutions on the ground and really find these use cases where you can work together.
Totally agree. And I'm glad to know that this is not the only event you guys have been speaking at. I'm glad you also are connecting with other people, speaking at other events, because I think that's key, right? This is the opportunity not to just show up and claim that we want 1.5. That is very clear, but to really share exactly what resources are we working on so that when we leave, we already have each other's contacts, we can get together and advance together, right? So that's great. Totally agree. I think you guys are doing amazing work at Demeter, also with the area also of measuring, being able to have this data, because to improve, we know we can't really measure improvement if we don't have the data or a base to work from. So that's great. And also that transparency key is so important. So as well, Shrey, would love to hear more. What is Green Spider doing right now in this area?
Well, I'd like to share 3 examples and 3 before and after examples, pre-AI and post-AI. I mean, all 3 are projects we are proud of, but hopefully we can enhance their impact. So the first example would be with the Bhungru project. It's a project I worked on before starting Green Spider, and we are an irrigation tool that works in areas that have that have a high probability of drought as well as floods. So you have droughts in one part of the year, floods in the other part of the year. And we identify subsoil lenses where rainwater can be stored, so you can cultivate while the rest of the village is flooded, and then that same water can be drawn out, and it can be used to irrigate 4 times the size of the farm through which you had drained it. So you can cultivate your own farm, you can share water with your neighbors. We exclusively work with women farmers, and our average farmer's annual income goes up by 3 or 4 times. We won the Global Climate Action Award by the UNFCCC some time ago, and since then we've expanded. So it took us about 10 years to reach 100,000 farmers, and this is an issue faced by about 35 million farmers in India and hundreds of millions across the world. During that period, the main driver for scale for us was reducing the cost of identifying feasible locations where these systems can be dug up, because it depends on the soil chemistry, it depends on the rainfall patterns, and so on. And reducing that by 60% immediately allowed us to scale up. And the reduction by 60% came through employing people with technical backgrounds in soil engineering. Now, a challenge for us is that we mainly work in rural India and now in 5 countries in Africa. India alone has 500,000 villages. Now we can't send a technician each and every place for troubleshooting, for follow-up. Now we are looking at installing water sensors at these locations, so that if there is any fluctuation in water levels, if there are any issues, then we can solve these issues remotely. Our average farmer partner is tech illiterate, and in many cases illiterate as it were. But AI can enable them to solve these issues remotely. We have already piloted it. It's been successful so far, and as I said, it took us 10 years to reach 100,000. We estimate we could reach 10 million within the next few years, and that can only happen with AI. So now that's one, and that's something happening on the ground in a social enterprise model at an NGO model. A second example I'd like to share is a project we worked on with GIZ, with the German Development Agency and the Government of India. So the Government of India for decades, at least since the 50s, has had a crop risk insurance program because agriculture in India is heavily dependent on the monsoon cycle. So the monsoon is the annual rainfall season, and if the occurrence of monsoon is delayed by a few days, billions of dollars are lost in agriculture and productivity overall. Now, crop risk insurance models started failing in the late 90s because they did not take climate change into account. So now, what we used to call once in a 100-year weather events happen every couple of years. And these models could not take that into account. So with GIZ, we came up with an enhanced model to take climate change into account and also to enhance the sustainability and financial feasibility of the crop risk insurance program. In order to do that, we also utilized satellite data and drone imagery to be able to see what kind of premiums can reasonably be charged. Now, when this program began, and satellite imagery and drone data has been used for some time, but it was processed either through CV, through computer vision, which is something that has existed since the 90s. It's rudimentary. It's really it's the equivalent of using Microsoft Paint, just a slightly enhanced version of that, or by human actors, humans actually processing the images. Now we are doing the same using machine learning, and that has completely changed the game. So not only is it more cost efficient, it's also more accurate, and it's also in real time. So that's my second example, and clearly that is improving agricultural outputs. That is in line with several SDGs. A third example I'd like to give is Kisan GPT. This is a project that we are indirectly involved with, but it's a great example of interaction with the end user directly. So it's a generative tool. Kisan is the Hindi word for farmer. So it's a tool that farmers can use to consult experts on issues that they're having. And as I said, we are a multilingual country, and experts. We don't have 121 experts in every area for 121 languages, but generative tools are filling in that gap. So now farmers can. Yes. So so Kisan GPT can give personalized recommendations. If you're a farmer, you can click a picture of your crop. You're saying that okay, it's not working out. What's the issue? The tool can then tell you which pesticide to use, when to use, how to go about it. It can give you access to government schemes and subsidies that are applicable to you. So again, we are a mess of hundreds of subsidy schemes at just the state level. The same approach can be expanded to a global level because every COP generates about 1 million pages in documents spread across a bunch of languages. So again, it's only AI and machine learning that can analyze that, and in general, development work for the developing world requires dealing with huge volumes of data. You've got billions of people, and you've got hundreds of billions of data points. Without AI, we just cannot go ahead with it, and that's what we're trying to do.
Totally agree, Shay. I mean, I think AI is here to stay, but it's incredible how far-reaching it can really be, as much as really benefiting even those that are in more rural communities and connecting them with maybe those that are experts, right? How can we cooperate and help each other? And I think something I had mentioned earlier too, we have to manage those potential risks, right? With AI, the potential risk of the loss of millions of jobs. But it's incredible what Green Spider is doing really to work on the ground with communities to ensure that they can really benefit from this, so that they can either create new jobs or really maintain those jobs so that they're more resilient, right? Which I know agriculture is a big job for the livelihood of millions of people in this world. So it's incredible all you're doing, and I believe Green Spider is a pretty new company, so everything you're telling me now, I'm impressed by all the numbers you can already share. It's incredible. Thank you.
Thank you.
And Dr. Jamouzi too, I know you've been busy today as well, but please tell us, what have you been doing as well?
So when we talk about AI, we talk about the data centers, or the data, and the algorithms or machine learning models. And both offer challenges and opportunities. So if we look at start with the data centers, they account for about 1% of the global electricity use. And the rapid increase in AI computational power requirement has amplified the environmental impact of these operations. Then when we look at the training of a single large AI model, it can emit as much carbon as 5 cars over their lifetime. So that's just to get an idea of the impact of both the data centers and the training in large AI models. But despite these challenges, AI also offers it's a powerful tool for sustainability, as we can see with a number of examples. For example, in the smart grids, the AI systems analyze consumption patterns and predict demand, allowing for the optimized electricity distribution that reduces wastage and integrates renewables into the traditional energy sources. This not only stabilizes the grid, but also minimizes energy losses, directly supporting decarbonization effort. I was just in a panel before this one, and Google was mentioning how they had deployed new AI algorithms to ensure that they go and use or run their models when there is renewable energy being generated. It's like when you're at home and you have photovoltaic solar panels, and your company encourages you to do auto-consumption. You run the washer and so on during the solar generation. That's the best time to use it. In a similar way, when you have AI models and you have all these data centers around the world, it's best to run those heavy algorithms when there is renewable being generated. So that's an example on how AI plays to help itself be more efficient. Another impactful application is in predictive maintenance across industries, where AI-driven systems can predict equipment failure and schedule timely repair. And this proactive approach reduces unexpected downtime and energy wastage, ultimately lowering the emission associated with the equipment. We also have developed a standard that provides the requirements on how to use big data and artificial intelligence technology for the management of the data center infrastructure system. The standard is called ITUT recommendation L.1305. And again, it's publicly available. You can download it on our website and use it as a guide. Thank you.
That's incredible. Thank you so much. I think it's amazing. I think we're all thinking when we were growing up, maybe the thing of having to, wash things or whatnot at hours that were, renewable energy or low cost. So I'm glad, to me, it's impressive that Google is also using this strategy, which is interesting. Where that balance between advancing in technology, but also using kind of that common sense, nature knows best rules, right, to advance. So thank you so much. And I think we have some good time for our last message. So we've heard about each vision, right, coming from different perspectives. We've heard the vision, how can AI help us? We've heard an example, right, how are we already taking action? And I want to make sure we all walk out with a lesson learned from each one of you. So I hope you've thought about it. What is a key that you would like us to learn from the process of this learning with AI, or something we should consider? So what's a lesson learned you each want to share?
Well, I think collaboration, because we just started a community of practice, we call, with 70 companies in Spain. So they are sharing very practical views I think, walk the talk and go very fast about all these issues you mentioned, because we all have questions on how to do things and how to gather data, to use it practically, to report, how to be more efficient with energy, how to select materials, for example, if we're talking about circular economy, and assembly them, or how we can, if we select them correctly, we can recycle or disassembly in a better way. So there are lots of questions going on there, and so we need a lot of intelligence there from different companies, not only technological companies, to share very quickly solutions. And also engaging with all the suppliers, with all the value chain, to explain them that this is coming very fast, so they need to understand all these topics. And also it was interesting how we engage with the government, because they understood that it was very interesting. They just launched, and we are working with them in the Green Algorithms National Plan, right? So there are lots of things going on there. In a couple of weeks, we have some more news about that. But of course, it's in the interest of Spain to attract investment and data centers. It's one thing, but you need to think before that about the energy, the water, the training for people now and in the future. So all those things we need to collaborate more between government and companies.
Thank you, Germán. I totally see it. So I think the manifesto was a really great start, right? We had about 70 companies that committed saying we have to pay attention to the implications of AI on these 5 aspects: nature, the social area, the inclusion, and transparency and governance. And now is really the opportunity for these companies to get together and to share, okay, what are the current challenges that you are each facing? How can we help each other? How can we learn and make sure that we are having a responsible governance? So really excited to see, as you know, I'm part of Fortitia, so I'm really excited to see the conversations that are going to come out of these companies and organizations that also participate in this working group. So thank you. Miguel Angel, would also love to hear, what is the lesson learned or key?
Yeah, I have been connecting with my colleagues that are already implementing this kind of projects in Iberdrola, and they sent me 3 lessons, more or less, I will share with you. The first one, think what you need. Set a clear objective based on a very robust assessment on your processes, your challenges, the kind of efficiencies that you want to achieve. You can develop pilots on this front and you can continue, but set a clear target because you can start doing a lot of things without any sense. The second one, responsible governance. You need to ensure that this tool is properly managed within the company. We have set AI coordinators across all jurisdictions. Each jurisdiction has an AI coordinator and connects with a global group within the company that ensures this integrity. And the third one, it has been already shared, alliances. Work with others. We have to learn from others' experiences, sit with the policymaker, encourage others to move towards always under a clean, a climate-friendly perspective.
Totally agree. I think you're putting a good base there. We need to have clear targets, science-based targets, have quantified targets as much as possible, have the right people in place to make sure that as we use these tools, these are disruptive tools. So make sure it's been does the right way, because it also has implications for now and in the future. And yes, governance is also super key. Ana Greta would also love to hear, what is a key lesson learned as well from your company?
Well, I think for everyone it's crucial to remember that AI can learn very quickly, and there might be some problems today that AI cannot solve, but it can do it tomorrow. And just an example from Google, so they have been developing translation engines for the last 20 years. They have over 200 different languages now available, and 105 languages were added within the last 6 months. So the takeoff has been very quick. Other than that, I think it's always better to take action than just to talk. So really to prioritize the AI agenda, make sure that you kind of make the goals very granular, so short, small steps, and understand that you need to involve everyone. So collaborate rather than invent the bicycle in your own corner. And that goes for the private as well, the governmental sector.
Totally agree. I think it's action. I think it's great to talk, to get together, to share ideas, but the time now is just to act. Oh, I think I may have lost. Oh, there we go. The time now is to act. But I think collaboration is there. We got to act, but make sure we do it right. Get the experts, but also I know when we have these big companies or wherever, we're also working with maybe some people that are not as advanced that really need that support. So I think collaboration goes in that front as well. Shrey, would you like to share with us a bit too? I know you've been working on several projects, but maybe a few lessons learned as well.
Yeah, absolutely. I'll not repeat some of the points I've made earlier regarding inclusion. But broadly, this applies to AI beyond just development sector. In general, a lot of advanced technologies, they're created by techies, but they also end up being created for techies. So there are a number of tools that exist around the world, but not just end users, but even small country governments aren't able to use those tools. So the inclusion of everyone at the development stage is important for that reason, because if you have at least a few developers who understand those perspectives, then that can really change the game for the end user. Actually, I'd also like to touch on something Anna Greta said. So she mentioned that Google has added 105 languages in the last 6 months. One of those languages is from my native land. It's a minor language called Marwari. It's spoken by 0.05% of the Indian population. It's a language whose name was not even known outside of that small region, and now Google Translate can translate into that language. That was unimaginable earlier. So personally, at my family level, we can see that change. One last point, a couple of points I'd like to make more is that we can spend the next 8 hours discussing how to define AI, what AI is. But broadly, all definitions do boil down to AI is a methodology through which a machine can mimic some form of human behavior. That is what it ultimately boils down to. And that is what leads to questions regarding job losses and employment. But looking at AI's impact on the world just in terms of employment is missing a lot of nuance, because there are many jobs or many possible functions that don't exist in the form of jobs for humans because they are just not feasible, and AI can do those jobs. So as I said, there are, and most of those jobs are disproportionately in the environmental sector, in the social sector, because so much of this conversation that is around climate finance is for us to be able to fund those kinds of activities. But yeah, we don't need to send humans everywhere to collect data. We don't need humans to spend their time working on all that data. AI can cover a lot of that. And lastly, again, like all modern tech that's coming out of Silicon Valley and elsewhere, there is a broad philosophy of run fast and break things, and that has led to successes and failures and ethical issues. We can't apply that same approach to AI when it comes to sustainable development, when it comes to climate change. The stakes are too high. So we can do everything at the development end, but we need to make sure that we keep all potential negative implications in mind.
Totally agree, Shay. And I think the fact that Green Spider is working with the rural communities, that's how you make sure that it really is being used for the people in the areas to really help them, especially in light of what's occurring with climate change. So totally agree. And just sharing, Sherry, we're going to walk out, and you've said several quotes now that I'm going to keep remembering too. So thank you so much. And Dr. Jamousi, you have the special role of being the final message that we're going to hear. So what's the last thing that you want us to take away too?
Sure. I think we need to look at net zero with AI and how to achieve it. And it's clear that a comprehensive and sustainable approach is essential across the AI life cycle, from data handling and hardware to system energy consumption. One key lesson is the importance of lifecycle management, which minimizes the energy use and environmental footprint of AI systems themselves. Ongoing work is being done to provide guidance for assessing the impact of artificial intelligence on greenhouse gas emission, helping to quantify, and the stress there is on quantify and mitigate AI environmental footprint. This is a new work item in study group 5. A related work is the methodology on the greenhouse gas emission of software, something that we haven't looked at before. Lessons learned also highlight the need for collaboration. I think all the panelists mentioned that, so certainly fully echo that. And along those lines of collaboration is the ITU Green Digital Action initiative. Exemplifies the approach by bringing together partners worldwide to drive climate action through digital innovation. By the way, the declaration is still open for endorsement until the closure of COP. Although we have 1,000 endorsements, 100 member states, the call is still open for others to endorse that declaration of the Green Digital Action. And finally, by aligning AI standards with sustainability goals, this initiative helps to create a shared roadmap towards climate neutrality that is globally impactful, measurable, and more importantly, achievable. Thank you.
I agree. Thank you. That was a great last message. I really appreciate it. And to summarize a bit of the few things that we've been sharing, so as we walk out, we know kind of the base of what we were discussing. I think you guys mentioned is we need to have clear goals, right? Let's use AI. Let's know exactly for what we want. What do we want to achieve with it? So that means we need to quantify it, always based in science as well. And I think AI is also helping science, as well as we need to collaborate, use those experts so that, as we've mentioned before, we collaborate so that we can, as soon as possible, be taking action to have that positive action, right? That positive impact. So thank you all for being here, for listening what we're doing already, right? And I hope that you can get some ideas of how the conversations that you can have in your own companies or organizations. And if you have any questions, we'll be here as well. So thank you so much to the 5 speakers today. Appreciate it. Thank you.